Well, good morning everyone and welcome to our May ordinary meeting of Council. Welcome to everyone in the room and those watching online as well. The meeting is open to the public. Been notified that Councillor Carroll will be a couple of minutes before she arrives, which is perfectly fine. And I'd just like to acknowledge those in the room as well. Thank you very much for being here today. Do appreciate it. And all councillors, our interim CEO Colin, GMs and others that are watching online. Thank you very much for being here today. I will open the meeting by acknowledging the Aboriginal parties whose songlines traverse these lands we meet on today, the Western Waka Waka and Jarrawa and Guyabal peoples and the Bigambul people, and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging, for they hold the knowledge, rich traditions and bold ambitions of Australia's First People. Now, this morning, before we move to item number 2, there's a couple of really exciting matters which speak to the values not only of this organisation but of the community as well. And Councillor Melissa, I'd like to hand over to you first, if I could. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I would invite Tony Wren to come and join me. Tony is involved with Toowoomba Together, as is Councillor James O'Shea. So this morning, excuse me if I get a little bit emotional, it is a topic that's very dear to my heart. So this morning I'd like to share something powerful that came from our recent candlelight vigil hosted by Toowoomba Together, held at the Empire Theatre on May 7th. This vigil was an incredibly moving and significant gathering, not just in remembrance of those we've lost to domestic and family violence, but as a call to action for every single one of us. As part of the evening, community members were invited to write down words and messages on a poster, words that reflected the kind of community that we want to live in, a community they believe in, a community they are committed to helping shape. What emerged was more than a poster. It was a shared vision written by the hands of people of all ages, backgrounds, and experiences. Words like respect, kindness, free from fear, acceptance, dignity, equality. These aren't just words, they are our collective aspirations. They are the community's voice saying loudly and clearly, we want better, we expect better, and we are ready to work together to create it. I'm proud to bring this poster here this morning to share with my fellow councillors, our organisation and the broader Toowoomba region community. It's a simple but powerful reminder of what we are striving for and the role that each of us has in achieving that vision. Domestic and family violence is not someone else's issues. It affects our neighbours, our colleagues, our businesses, our friends, and our families. And it will take all of us in every role we play to create lasting change. So this morning, I present this poster not as an end result, but as a beginning. A continued call to action for our community and a commitment from those who attended the vigil that we can and must build a safer, more respectful Toowoomba region. Let us honour the voices that wrote these words, and let us ensure that our policies, our partnerships, and community engagement reflect them. Together, we can be the light. Together, we can build the community that we all deserve. Mr Mayor, I present to you and the Toowoomba region the words.
Tony, we'll go a bit higher, Mel, if you want to come in. Better. Good.
So thank you to the community. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
I'll leave that there for reminders of today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Here we go. Thank you very much, Councillor Melissa. Thank you, Tony, as well. I think if you take time to look at some of those messages that are on there, it is about working together to make change, and a lot of them are about hope, and that's certainly where we should be, need to be, and will be. So thank you. Thanks very much. Councillors, on Saturday evening, we also had a really special occasion. In fact, it was one where Toowoomba Regional Council was celebrated in a number of ways. It was the Toowoomba Disability Awards, and it took place at the St Mary's College. And Toowoomba Regional Council was recognised in a few nominations, and particularly winning one, and one of our partners, I guess, in the waste services also won an award. And that award was won by Ability Enterprises for the Business Engagement Award. And certainly councillors were there along with General Manager and Waste Manager as well. And it was really heartwarming to see that result. We also won an award called the Social Inclusion Award at the Disability Awards for Toowoomba and Darling Downs. And that award recognises excellence in creating and promoting an inclusive culture which supports people of all abilities. And today we have Megan Wilson with us today, and we acknowledge, Megan, you and all that you've done over a number of years. And just to give people a taste of this change project and why I guess it was awarded the Social Inclusion Award, in 2012, the change project saw around 6,000 activations with residents. In 2023, so 11 years later, we celebrated 70,000 activations, and last year alone that number rose to over 88,000 activations. So in 12 years it went from 6,000 to 88,000 activations, all with one person leading the charge, one FTE, which is quite an extraordinary effort. If you look at return on investment for our community, this says it all. Since its inception, the Change project has prioritised the importance of mental and physical well-being for people living with a disability, offering a wide range of interactive activities labelled as disability-friendly fitness. Activities are varied and held at easily accessible venues and locations, and are purposely chosen to cover a broad range of needs. This inclusive environment has led to significant improvements not only in physical well-being, but also in resident social well-being. A recent community consultation survey revealed 92% of participants experienced an improved sense of community, while 77% reported better social inclusion. So it really was great recognition for Toowoomba Regional Council and the Change Project, and indeed all of those providers who are part of the Change Project. For without them, it wouldn't be successful. So a shout out to all of those who provide those activities. To see 88,000 people last year in 2024. So, Megan, if you'd like to come forward, it's a great pleasure on behalf of councillors and all the community to acknowledge your fine work and present you with this trophy. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Sally, as well, for coming over here today. We do appreciate it and all that you do. Thank you very much. We then move, councillors, to item number 2 on the agenda today, which is the reception of deputations or delegations by appointment. And very pleased to welcome Bruce Finlayson, Elder and Secretary of Oakey Community Christian Church Incorporated, regarding the Oakey Community Services. Bruce, thank you very much for coming along today. We do appreciate it and all that you do. We're looking forward to hearing what you've got to say. So you've got 10 minutes, and then there may be some questions from councillors. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, councillors and the public, for welcoming me here today. I feel a bit humbled coming after 2 wonderful community events that we've heard of this morning. It's actually very encouraging to see that people are being proactive in helping our local communities. Well, I'm here this morning to talk about Oakey. So I'll get on with it and give you an overview of what the Oakey is actually like, because often people are quite surprised when they find out what's behind the name. First of all, Oakey, we have a population of 5,000 people, give or take. I've pinched these figures from the Bureau of Statistics. I am aware that Mark Twain said there's lies, damned lies in statistics, but you have to blame the ABS for these ones, I'm sorry. Okay, so we've got 5,000 people. There's around about 2,000 dwellings in the town of Oakey itself. There's 2 vehicles per dwelling. At the Oakey State High School, we have, which is the only high school in the town, we have 475 enrolments at the moment. In our state primary school, we have 235. And in St Monica's Roman Catholic School, there's 190 in total. Of our population, 22% are at school. Queensland, it's 19%, and across Australia, it's 18%. So there's a slightly higher proportion of our population that is of school age. And for our Indigenous population, we're quite high, 12.5% compared to Queensland at 4.6%. The townsfolk born overseas accommodate for 12.5% of our population. Now, most of those are people from the South Sea Islanders and Brazil who work in the 2 abattoirs associated with Oakey. And our median weekly household income is $1,250, which is around about 3/4, a bit less than 3/4 of the average for Queensland. And our median weekly personal income is $700 per week. So that's what people bring into their homes. And our median monthly mortgage repayment, that might go down today, I'm not too sure, is about $1,300, give or take. So that's a little bit about Oakey. It's a bit more. Of all of our families, 1/4 are single-parent families. So that brings up some social issues in itself. 28% of our population come from single or lone person households. Mental health challenges, the ABS say there's 1 in 7. Well, that's always open to conjecture because of the fact of what is involved in mental health. Diabetes, 1 in 12 of the people in Oakey for diabetes, 1 in 20 nationally. So it's almost double the national average. Cancer, 4% suffer cancer, which is twice the national average. And when we look at employment and the types of work that people do, labourers comprise 1/4 of our total workforce in the town. Tradesmen are 17%, community personal service workers are 14%, machinery operators are 12%, clerical administration is 9%, managers are 9%, and professional people almost 7.5%. So that's the makeup of our town itself. New Acland Coal, of course, which is quite associated with Oakey, they actually employ about 400 full-time equivalent workers, but a lot of those workers come from areas around Side Oakey, and even some drive quite some distance to come and work in the New Acland coal mine. Okay, a little bit about our history. Oakey was actually settled, or the Oakey district was largely settled by the Germans and the Scots. And as a result of that, there's a large Lutheran and Presbyterian uniting contingent in the area, and the English, of course, brought the Anglican and Roman Catholic affiliations. In the 21 census, over 60% of people in Oakey said they affiliated with the Christian faith. That was compared to 44% nationally. So it's quite a high Christian alignment there. And in the recent federal election, I should say, Oakey voters, 64% of them who voted at the Oakey High School voted in favour of family-orientated Conservative parties. So that gives you a bit of an overview of the mindset of the people there. So what are our needs as a town? We're very multicultural because of the people who have come from other nations to work in the abattoirs particularly. And of course that brings in language issues and comprehension issues. So we do see situations where these people who have come to Australia to work on special visas do sometimes get taken a bit of advantage of in relation to renting of properties and the rents they get charged. Housing, there's homelessness is an issue. Believe it or not, there's quite a few homeless people in Oakey. Some people are homeless because they can't get somewhere to live. They actually have a job, but they can't find a place to live, and so they live in their cars and in the Telstra telephone exchange, behind the commercial buildings in the main street, wherever they can find somewhere for some shelter. Social and family, parents are struggling. There's a lack of cohesion in a lot of homes. Folks, there's a lot of broken people that live in Oakey. Broken people, broken lives, broken homes. We've talked this morning about domestic and family violence. Oakey is not immune from that. And that's one of the saddest things about our town. But I don't want to concentrate just on the negatives. There's a lot of positives happening. Economic, there's a little industry to create jobs for school leavers. So the young people in the school are quite despondent. And I mean seriously despondent. You talk to them, they go, well, what's the use of trying at school because I can't get a job? Because there are no jobs in Oakey. The youth, there's nothing constructively for them to do outside of school. And we're wanting to address that issue, particularly when we look at the high school, with the great facilities the high school has. There's millions and millions of dollars in infrastructure in that school, and for 3 months of the year it's shut up on holidays. What a waste of money. You and I wouldn't have a business and put that sort of money into a business and then shut up shop for 3 months. But in the school holidays, with all of the facilities they've got there, nothing happens with it. And I see that as an economic waste, being an accountant myself from in history. Okay, the Oakey Community Church, of which I'm involved in, we're one of the 6 main churches in the town. And in Oakey, we work very closely together, and we have a Christian Leaders Network that coordinates and oversees a lot of our work that the individual churches actually do. We're involved with things like the Thursday afternoon skate park sausage sizzle, where we provide food and so forth for school students after school every Thursday afternoon in the Rotary skate park there, when it's not raining, that is. We run a breakfast club in the state primary school Wednesday and Thursday mornings, and in the state high school Monday, Wednesday and Friday, and that's coordinated through Scripture Union and the school chaplains. And we have a seniors morning tea. The next one's coming up on the 23rd of October. It'd be lovely if you could get there. And again, we have the hospitality students from the high school cater for that, which is great training for them. And we're appreciative of the Chamber of Commerce who actually underwrite that for insurance purposes. We're also involved in religious instructions in the primary school and in the Santa Fair at Christmas time, 6th of December this year. And the churches are working towards a community chaplaincy, because just walking down the street at any time of any day, there's people in need. And I sometimes wish I had 25 hours in the day and 8 days in the week, and even then I'd still be busy because of the great needs in the town. In the last few years, the Oakey Community Christian Church has had a held a free Christmas Day breakfast. So while you've been unwrapping presents under the tree, we've been down in the cultural centre cooking meals at 5 o'clock for the homeless people and those who are lonely. And it's been great. We get around about 80 to 100 non-church associated people come along, and we've made some great connections, particularly with the people who've come from overseas to work in the abattoir. That Christmas Day breakfast, the RSL, the New Auckland Coal and local businesses all support that, and that's how it's made possible to occur. And it's from this Christmas breakfast day, that we realised well and truly last, in fact actually the year before, that there were some great needs in our community. So what the church has done is we've recently started a soup kitchen called Munch and Crunch. Some people said you should have called it Crunch and Munch, but it's Munch and Crunch. That was the majority on the day. And that soup kitchen, it only operates at the moment of a Friday night from 5 o'clock. We see the need to operate it for longer, for more days, but there's a few factors to consider. And plus, we're wanting to start it off in a small way and make sure logistically and organisationally we get things right before we venture out into bigger and greater things. We hire the community centre hall, which is next to the library. You're probably aware of that, and that's where we have it. We provide food, companionship, so we have people come and we'll sit down with the people, the homeless people and so forth, and talk with them and make them feel at home and listen to their concerns. And then we also have a lot of frozen meals there, which we give out to people to take with them. Okay, we've recently started a youth group called Oki Youth. That's a pretty original name, I guess. It operates Friday night after the soup kitchen is finished. And we are looking in the longer term with the high school to use the youth group to actually do the catering for the soup kitchen. Save old fellas like me. It's held at the community centre as well. And the youth group, we have 90 minutes of music jam session. Young people like their music. Discussions and, of course, food. Leaders in the youth group include 2 registered secondary school teachers, so they've got their finger on the pulse. And we're also going to be including third parties like the police and fire and so forth, and businesses and other people involved in the community to give the young people a bit of an idea of what's out there in the community itself. What are our immediate challenges? We need, look, at the moment, as of today, we need a 24/7 microwave access in the town. We hand out these frozen meals to the homeless people, but there's nowhere for them to heat them up. So they actually eat them cold like ice cream. There's no choice for the poor people. Accommodation for the homeless. I've talked about that a moment ago. Public laundry facilities. There was a public laundry in Carytown Shopping Centre. That's been closed down now, and that's a bit of an issue because they haven't got anywhere to wash their clothes. Public shower facilities of a weekend and public holiday. Whilst there's one in the community centre, when the library's open, that's great, but after the library shuts, it's not available to anyone except when we have the soup kitchen. Where are we going in the future? Well, the Oki Community Christian Church, we're looking around for a building. We actually have found a building, but they want $1.25 million, well, to buy it and to do what we need to do it, $1.25 million. And we give away, we don't have any paid pastors and ministers in the church, we're all volunteers, and we give away everything that we raise. So we've only got about 10 grand in the bank, so we're a long way short of $1 million, but we're getting there. We want that building for emergency and short-term accommodation. So we can provide for, we've been talking about domestic violence, if someone comes to us, then we can give them some emergency accommodation. At the moment, when we come across people, we put them up in our homes. And that's okay, but it does create some issues. Showers and laundries, talked about that. Commercial kitchen facilities provide quality meals. We're looking at hairdressing and personal needs for those who are in need around the community, and also providing community counselling and allied health support for people as well. And what we're wanting to do in the long term is turn it into a traineeship opportunity for high schoolers. So they can do their cert to in hospitality and so forth and whatever. So that's a very quick summary of Oki. There's a lot there to know about Oki, but I thank you for the opportunity to have this 10 minutes, and I'm here for questions if you like, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks very much, Bruce. Appreciate that. Any questions, councillors? Bruce, how many... sorry, James, you go. Okay. How many youth would you get of a Friday night?
At the moment, we're only up to about 8.
Okay.
6 to 8 is all we're getting at the moment. We've just started, so
Righto.
we're aiming for more, of course, but
Good.
yeah, at the
Very
moment
good. Sorry, James, you
we're
go.
keeping a bit busy.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Bruce. Appreciate the information and yeah, to look at some of those numbers and things like that. Now, in regards to, as you sort of said, the vision is obviously for a building which obviously can help with those scenarios you've had there. Have you had any other conversations with any other groups in Oakey that you may be able to partner with? Because I understand, yes, that's obviously it's a large figure.
Yes.
From whether there's PCYCs, QCWAs, whoever, what other.
New Auckland Coal.
Yeah, have any conversations been had around that? Because
Indeed, we have, and it's really finding a building at this point in time that is available. That's the biggest issue, because we feel we need it in the town itself. We've had opportunities to buy buildings like in Queen Street and so forth, but that's out of the town centre, and the people just don't go to that side of town.
Okay.
So that's all being looked after. Don't worry.
Yeah, because obviously I think there's absolutely there's a need for this, and there's probably a few different groups that are chasing
Correct.
a similar need. So there could be that opportunity to collaborate. So it's good that
Yes.
you've obviously looked into the possibility of that anyway. So,
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
Makes the dream work. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, Bruce, thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor.
Very much appreciated. Great information, and thank you for what you're all doing.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Good on you. Councillors, we will move then to item number 3, which is attendance, including apologies, leave of absence, granting leave of absence, and declaration of conflicts of interest. First of all, no apologies today, and which we're very grateful for. Granting of leave of absence, there's a few here, and I'll start with Councillor Bill. That's okay.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I request that I be granted leave of absence from the special meeting of Council on the 18th of June, committee meeting on the 10th of June, and any other committee. Well, there's no other committee meetings in June. It's just the one now, isn't it? On the Tuesday.
But there could potentially be, but if we were to bracket it that
So
between a date and a date,
yeah, right.
then anything that happens in between.
Any meetings which may be held on the 11th of June and the ordinary meeting on the 17th of June. And just as a precaution, if there are special meetings that come up in June, Chair, could I request a leave of absence? Because there's a bit of variability, as we know, at times on those.
Well, how about we just add the words at the tail end of that, along with any other special meeting that may be called in June.
Yeah.
You happy with that?
Thank you.
So therefore, we need someone to move. That is the case. We'll accept Councillor Bill's moved by Councillor Gary, seconded by Councillor Trevor. Those in favour? Motion's carried. Thank you. We then move to Councillor Gary Gardner.
I request to be granted leave of absence from the committee meetings on the 10th of June 25 and any committee meetings which may be held on the 11th of June 25.
Thanks, Councillor Gary. Someone move. Moved by Councillor Rebecca, seconded by Councillor Bill. Those in favour? Motion's carried. We then move to Councillor Tim.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. I request to be granted a leave of absence for the special meeting of Council held tomorrow, the 21st of May 2025, and I will change the wording a little bit. Any potential planning meetings of Council on Wednesday, the 28th of May 2025. I don't think we need reasons in that, and perhaps could remove them from the motion, please.
Yeah, it's just say council business, would be due to council business. That's fine. Councillor Tim, could we leave the 28th of May to just simply say, and any special meetings on the 28th of May? Because there could be two.
Correct. So, okay, I'll just leave it at that.
due to council business.
Do you even need to put due to council business? Just like I'm happy with it, but
It's for purposes of recording. That's right. So that's fine. Has someone happy to move? Moved by Councillor Rebecca, seconded by Councillor Melissa. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Edwina.
Thank you, Chair. I request to be granted leave of absence from the committee meetings on 8th of July 2025 and any committee meetings which may be held on 9th of July 2025 and any special meetings that may be scheduled on 9th of July 2025.
Thank you, Councillor Edwina. Someone happy to move? Moved by Councillor Kerry, seconded by Councillor Carroll. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Any other leave of absence required? Anyone knows of? If not, we'll move then to... Sorry, Councillor Tim?
I need to, we've already passed a motion, but, and I'm nitpicking, but I've asked for 2 dates for council business and technically one of them is council business, one of them may not be. And I've asked for it for council business on both.
As long as you've declared that we've granted leave of absence for that time, so that's fine.
Sorry to interrupt.
You're right, no problem. So if there's no other declarations of, leave of absence requests, we will then move to the declarations of conflicts of interest, of which there are a couple. So Councillor Rebecca, we'll start with you.
Thanks, Mayor. This is in relation to item number 16.1, Confidential Interim Chief Executive Officer's Monthly Report. In relation to item number 16.1, I request that it be minuted that I declared a declarable conflict of interest in relation to item number 12.4 at the ordinary meeting of Council of the 28th of May 2024, item 12.4, Toowoomba City Aerodrome, and of my decision to leave the meeting while the matter was discussed and voted on. As the relevant circumstances have not changed, I will leave the meeting while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Thanks, Councillor Rebecca. Councillor Gary.
In relation to item 16.1, request that it be amended that I declared a declarable conflict of interest in relation to item number 12.4 at the ordinary meeting of Council on the 28th of May 24. Item number 12.4, Toowoomba City Aerodrome, and of my decision to leave the meeting while the matter was discussed and voted on. As the relevant circumstances have not changed, I will leave the meeting while the matter.
Thanks, Councillor Gary. Councillor Bill.
thanks, Chair. In relation to item number 12.2, I request that it be minuted that I declared a declarable conflict of interest in relation to item 12.1 at the ordinary meeting of Council on the 10th of December 24. The item number 12.1, grants for growth, and of Council's decision to allow me to participate in discussion about the matter, including by voting on the matter. As the relevant circumstances have not changed, I'll participate in discussion about the matter, including by voting on the matter.
Thanks very much, Councillor Bill. Any other declarable prescribed conflicts of interest that councillors may be aware of? If not, if something crops up, councillors, please, for whether it's for yourself or you feel another councillor may have a conflict, please indicate at that time. We then move to item number 4, which is the confirmation of minutes. And the minutes are from the ordinary meeting of Council on the 22nd of April 2025. Everyone was present. The motion is that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of Council dated 22nd of April 2025 be confirmed. Moved by Councillor Rebecca, seconded by Councillor Tim. Those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Item number 5, councillors, is business arising out of the minutes of the previous meeting. If there's no business arising, we'll move then to item number 6, which is the presentation of petitions. And as I understand, Councillor Rebecca, you have a petition for Central Highfields Master Plan.
I do, thank you, Mayor. I bring this petition to Council, a petition that carries 3,072 signatures, which is about half the adult population of Highfields, and is the result of door-knocking the wider Highfields catchment. There are an additional 80 signatures that were gathered online that are not included in this petition, as they don't fit the requirements of Council's petition policy. The petition is courtesy of the Highfields Chamber of Commerce and the Highfields Community Heart Project Committee, and this started in 2016. with the involvement of considerable community consultation. They view their work as a partnership with Council. There is a letter which is attached in reference to this petition that was also shared with councillors on the 28th of March 2025. I'll go to the petition, Mayor. This petition draws to the attention of Council the fact that the draft 2025 Highfields Central Master Plan fails to meet the objectives and requirements of the Highfields community. This is due to reasons including the inclusion of low-density residential zoning at the expense of commercial zonings. We therefore request Council to reject the draft 2025 Highfields Central Master Plan on the basis that the current draft does not adequately provide for the future long-term growth and development of a town centre for a region the size and nature of the Greater Highfields area. The facts and circumstances in support of this petition are detailed in the letter to Council prepared by the Highfields Chamber of Commerce and Highfields Community Heart Project dated the 28th of March 2025. I'll just bring this and present this petition to the CEO and yourself, Mayor.
Thanks very much. So can I call in for a motion? You're happy to move the motion that the petition be received, Councillor Rebecca?
I am, thank you.
Okay, we have a second. To Councillor Bill. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Rebecca. We then move, councillors, to item number 7, which is business for which the Mayor wishes to have considered at the meeting without notice, a mayoral minute. There is nothing this morning that is being brought forward today. Item number 8, councillors, is a reception and consideration of committee reports. The first of which is item 8.1, which is the Planning and Development Committee. Now, there were 2 substantive items, the Regional Development Statistics Report, which is item 3, and item 5 was the Confidential Planning and Environment Court Appeals and Compensation Claims, February, March and April 2025. Would anyone like to pull any of those items out? If not, the motion before us is that the report of the Planning and Development Committee dated 13 May 2025 be received and the recommendations therein be adopted. Moved by Councillor Tim, seconded by Councillor Trevor. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. We move to item 8.2, councillors, which is the Water and Waste Committee. There was 1 substantive item in this for decision, which was the Greenmount Water Treatment Plant, expression of interest for the design and construct tender. Would anyone like to remove that to discuss? The motion before us is that the report of the Water and Waste Committee dated 13 May 2025 be received and the recommendation therein be adopted. Moved by Councillor Rebecca, seconded by Councillor Melissa. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Item number 8.3, councillors, is the Infrastructure Committee. The motion is that the report of the Infrastructure Committee dated 13 May 2025 be received. Have someone move that motion? Moved by Councillor Carroll, seconded by Councillor Tim. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. We then move to item number 8.4, which is the Environment and Community Committee. 2 substantive items, the first of which is the Annual Fire Mitigation Action Plan 25-26, second of which is item number 4, which is the request for sponsorship amendment, 19th National Historical Machinery Association National Rally and Steaming under the Southern Cross. Would anyone like to pull any of those out? If not, the motion before us is that the report of the Environment Community Committee dated 13 May 2025 be received and the recommendations therein be adopted. Moved by Councillor James, seconded by Councillor Bill. Those in favour? Motion's carried. Item number 8.5 is Community Services Committee. There were 5 substantive items, the first of which was the Operational Plan Progress Report, the second of which was item 4, consideration of the draft revenue policy, item 5, Controlled Entities Quarterly Reports, item 6, 2.56, Entertainment and Hospitality Policy, item 7 was a report of the Audit Committee meeting. Would anyone like to pull any of those items out? If not, the motion before us is that the report of the Corporate Services Committee dated 13 May 2025 be received and the recommendations therein be adopted. Moved by Councillor Tim, seconded by Councillor Melissa. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Item number 8.6, councillors, the Economic Development Committee. The motion is that the report of the Economic Development Committee dated 13 May 2025 be received. Moved by councillor Edwina. Seconder, councillor Bell. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Councillors, we move then to item number 9, which is the monthly performance statement, and welcome GM of Corporate Services, Anne-Marie Johnson, to come forward to present the monthly financial performance statement for the month of May for the period ending 30 April. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Welcome to you.
Good morning, councillors. I'm happy to take this report as read, but I would like to refer you to attachment 1, the consolidated financial performance statement, and in particular, the reforecast to the 30th of June. So we have been reporting since January that we're looking at another deficit at the 30th of June. So our operating expenditure is higher than our operating income. So councillors will recall we had an operating deficit actual result at the 30th of June last year of in 12 million. So it's not sustainable to continue to be our expenditure to be higher than operating income. And I can assure councillors that the executive leadership team are dedicated meeting this week to review all expenditure across the organisation to try and reduce that deficit. So happy to take any questions.
Thanks very much, Anne-Marie. So that's page 6 of 10. That's one we're looking at. Thank you. I do appreciate that column as well, very much indeed. Any questions, councillors? If there's no questions, the motion before us is that the monthly financial performance statement for the period ending 30 April 2025 be received. Moved by councillor Rebecca, seconded by councillor Tim. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Item number 10 is the Interim Chief Executive Officer's monthly report. The Interim Chief Executive Officer has let me know that there is nothing in the open session that he would like to bring forward or comment on. And so therefore the motion before us is that the Interim Chief Executive Officer's monthly report be received. Moved by councillor Rebecca, seconded by councillor Trevor. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Item number 11, councillors, is the monthly report, the Mayoral's monthly report. That's there for your reading pleasure. And councillors, I'm more than happy to call for a motion that that monthly report be received. Moved by councillor Rebecca, seconded by councillor James. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. We then move to item number 12 on the agenda, councillors, which is officers' reports, and the first one of which is the 12.1 defined flood levels pursuant to section, let's read that out there, 8.1b I, Roman numeral I, of Building Regulation 2021. Carrie, welcome to you very much. You're presenting this report on behalf of the author. Katrina, thank you very much and welcome. I'll hand over to you.
Good morning, Council. Today, this report is simply about correcting an oversight that has occurred in our planning scheme. It's simply to replace the terminology flood planning level to the defined, sorry, my resolve isn't working, so I can't access the report, with a defined flood level, which is required under the various pieces of legislation that sit in conjunction with the planning scheme. So I'm going to take the report as read, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thanks very much, Carrie. Councillor Trevor?
With this new overlay, has it changed anything, or is it just word terminology, and will it affect insurance? Because insurers look at these things and go, but there's no change to a map, an outline of where flooding occurs.
Through you, Chair, no, there's no changes to anything else. It's simply an administrative change of the words.
Councillor Tim, question?
Chair, thank you. I had the exact same question, but does this change anything if you've got a house in a flood zone? Does it change anything for you pre-existing? Thank you.
No, again, it's simply to clarify the terminology, removing a word and replacing it with another just to comply with relevant legislation.
Okay, if there's no other questions, the motion before us is that council make a declaration in accordance with section 81BI of Building Regulation 2021 as follows, open quotations, for the purposes of section 81BI of Building Regulation 2021, council declares that all of the designated flood hazard area, the defined flood level, is to be the flood planning level as identified in the Flood Hazard Overlay Code of the Toowoomba Regional Council Planning Scheme, version 28, and as may be amended from time to time. Close quotations. Councillor Tim moves, Councillor Trevor second. Those in favour? Motion's carried. Thank you, Gary, very much. We then move to item 12.2, noting this is the Central Highfields Master Plan land divestment and change to land zone. And Councillor Bill, your declaration has been received and recorded in regard to this. There has been an indication, Gary and Josh, at this stage from one councillor at the very least, that to actually do these in separate motions, which we can deal with when that time comes. I'll happy to hand over to Josh. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you. Morning, councillors. I'll take the report as read, but I'll just provide a bit of a quick summary, a bit of an overview of the report. So the purpose of the report today is for the divestment of the Queensland Fire Department site to the rear of the current site there on the Central Highfields area, and also for the change of zone for the park area on the same site. So the area for the QFD site is approximately 3,000 square metres and is effectively a doubling of the current area that they have. Queensland Fire Department had done quite an extensive review of sites from within the region, and this was the site was their preferred site and it met their operational requirements. The recommendation is put forward for this particular part. It does not adversely conflict with the current master plan over the site, nor the master plan that we are working towards the revision of, which we're anticipating to forward for endorsement next month. The parks component is also consistent with the current master plan, which was in 2018. And is also consistent with the work is in the current revision for the master plan as well. These two recommendations don't conflict with the revision, the revised master plan we're working towards, and which is be predominantly talking about the breakdown of commercial and residential land allocations. Yes, the recommendation is for. As outlined in the report, and I'll take any questions if there are any.
Thanks very much, Josh. Any questions, councillors, in regard to this matter? Councillor Trevor?
Can I move that motion be put?
I flagged at the start there is a potential to split them into two and vote on them separately if there's a will to do that. I certainly don't have an issue with that from a chair perspective. Councillor Bill, question?
Look, I definitely think or feel that we should separate the two items. I fail to see the linkage and relevance to the items, why they would be brought under the banner of one item for a start, and the timing of that. So I'd like to be able to vote independently on either issue, if that's possible.
That's fine. Would you like any commentary on why they are together? Would that be useful? It doesn't worry me to split them, and I'm quite happy to.
Look, I'm happy for the officer to be. I just fail to see the relevance of how the two relate to each other, and hence the timing. The only urgent item of business, as I understand it from the dialogue that's happened, and there's been lots of it, that the timing for this, for the fire department is essential. I don't see the relevance for the other zoning, so that's why I'm asking that we deal with them separately or split them out and vote separately on each
Well,
item.
that's fine. I'm happy to split them separately. So we'll deal with the motion, which was number 1 first, which is, and it's quite lengthy. I'll just summarise by simply saying it's the disposal of land for QFD, Queensland Fire Department, and that the Chief Executive Officer is authorised to negotiate the disposal, and that the net proceeds from the disposal be allocated to Council's Development Reserve. That's the first motion. It is up on the screen, and those watching online will see it as well. It's the motion before us. Happy to ask for someone to move that motion. Moved by Councillor Tim, seconded by Councillor Gary. And you need to go into debate. Go into debate. Okay, Councillor Tim, reserve your right to speak. Councillor Bill.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think I can read the tea leaves of the room. However, for the public record, I would like to give my views and opinions about why I don't support this and why a majority of what I consider is a considerable amount of community don't support the fire station remaining permanently in the location where it is. One, for the public record, I'm of the opinion that the way we arrived at this decision was less than favourable, and I even suggest, in my view, less than appropriate. If we go back to previous council's positions on this, it was in fact not a preferred site for the fire department because of the council's position, the council of the day's position, for them not to remain here, on this present site. The second thing that I'd like to raise is that it defies common sense or good planning principles to think that a fire station would operate efficiently, particularly in peak traffic times in the morning and afternoons with schools at either end of the street, and the fire truck needs to get out in a hurry, let alone community events in a town or city centre, which will continue to happen, no doubt. It does, and the question I pose, and a rhetorical one, would Toowoomba put up with a fire station in its CBD? Kitchener Street is not the CBD. And why did we move the Clifton fire station from the town centre? For a little bit of history for those who weren't around the table. So for me, it defies good, practical, common sense planning. It's a conflicting land use, in other words, across the road from the library. And I just happened, by good fortune, to pull up and watch the cherry picker, the great big cherry picker fire truck come into the station the other day. Just by chance, I was on my way to work. And it was diabolical watching this enormous truck trying to negotiate an undersized roundabout in front of the library to get into the driveway of the fire station. But wait, we could actually make that bigger at our expense to suit a State Department's emergency service. I draw councils and I implore councillors to consider leadership and advocacy, and I draw reference to a high school that took 20 years to hit the ground, and the council of the day could have had the attitude, oh, we don't look after education, that's a state issue. But the state the council of the day chose to advocate, along with community, the state, to establish a high school in Highfields. On the back end of a petition we've just seen presented, which was larger than the one the then local member, Kerry Shine's office, saw hit his desk. The council of the day chose to advocate, despite us being told we're most likely going to have a ministerial if we refuse this. To me, that's not advocacy. And to suggest that the fire, and I've heard the rhetoric that the fire department will just move on and not build a fire station in Highfields. Well, I simply don't subscribe to that. The department themselves have raised awareness for the community and have an obligation to provide service, a 24/7 service. They've been collecting fees for decades, could be, for 24/7 fire station. Where is that money? So I refuse to have the carrot and stick put over my, put in front of me that we could miss out on a 24/7 fire station. I don't believe so. There's a responsibility that the emergency services departments have, and that should be addressed, and should be addressed in keeping with the understanding and clear understanding of the broader community. And you only need to look at the amount of consultation and the individuals' names in that document from the Highfields Heart group and the involvement, and how it was the town centre was, of which the fire department was not to be permanent, was mooted in Canberra by the then member for Groom as best practice for planning. And here we are, we're going to put the big red trucks right smack in the centre of a, dare I say, city, which will be 3 times the size it is now. So they're all the reasons I implore councillors to think carefully. We can wash our hands like that figure in history called Pontius Pilate and say, no, this is a state and the minister will make a determination anyway. Or we can actually say, well, no, we're not happy with it and we actually want to stand by our previous council's decision and support our community. Thanks, Chair, for indulging me.
Councillor Carl, thank you. A speaker in favour of the motion? If not, Councillor Tim, would you like to wrap up?
Chair, thank you. It is left to me as the mover of the motion to sum up, and I'm very happy to. Colleagues, QFES has chosen, at their discretion, a site they believe best allows them to service the fire needs of the community of Highfields. They've asked us for this block of land, and it is our job in this motion to dispose of said block of land for a fire station. I need to strongly disagree and in fact call out the assumption that there was apparently foul play involved here. I need to strongly disagree and in fact call out the idea that there's no common sense in this proposal. We had a consultation with the community of Highfields around this fire station. Not only did the majority of that consultation say they supported the fire station in this proposal, I don't know, if I lived in Highfields, I kind of think I'd like a fully equipped fire station ready around the corner, as close as it could be, if the need was to arise. And I'm happy to take the experts' opinion on that, of where it should be to best service the members of Highfield at the appropriate time. But I think as well, QFES will decide where they want their fire station with their experts and their knowledge of fire criteria, and it's not something I think anyone around this room is an expert on. But we either work with them and say we're happy to work with you on the appropriate site, or there are other levers appropriate to them, and I'd rather work with and put some suggestions in place on how we can best work with it as far as amenity as far as what it looks like, as far as the times you can have the siren on, then it's just a decision that's done with us. So therefore, I move the motion of part 1 of this.
Thanks. We've got a mover and a seconder. The motion is there before us. So I'll call for the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Would you like a vote recorded? Councillor Bill, Councillor Carroll? You could call a division. Well, that means all bar Councillor Bill and Councillor Carroll have voted in favour of the motion. Are you right with that, Deanne? Thank you. Therefore, the second motion is to amend the zone of approximately 6.3 hectares of land, pardon me, in the Central Highfields Master Plan, as shown on attachment 2, to the open space zone and to instigate a boundary realignment of this area. Someone move. Moved by Councillor Tim, or is it a question?
Yeah, Chair. In the absence of questions, colleagues, I'd like to just propose an amendment actually on this motion. And what we're talking about here is 6.3 hectares of land that will become open space. That will become a park of some description, and so it should be. Right? Now, my tossing and turning over this on the last few days, colleagues, there is several community members and several community groups who are concerned about what this park will look like. And there is, very importantly, a small but vitally important strip of native bushland vegetation along the northern Clark Road boundary of this, which I have seen, I have with my own eyes, and I have several expert community members telling me that this is a corridor for the local koala population and would kind of like to keep it that way. Now, I'm very aware that our open space team will get this and they'll put ideas in place of a park that best meets the community's needs and with consultation. But I wonder if it's our place to set the strategic direction of this and ask for that strip of remnant native vegetation to be retained. And colleagues, I'd actually like to propose that whilst we are moving this to open space, that as well, and I'm sorry I don't have this in an email, but probably 2A or a second part to this, that the strip of native vegetation adjoining Clark Road in the same parcel of land be preserved as native bushland for the purposes of koala habitat and koala corridor.
Councillor Tim, we don't have a mover or a seconder, so it's not an amendment at this stage. It's just you're actually proposing. It's an officer. That's an officer recommendation. So if you'd like to put that forward and you can move it, you get a seconder. That becomes the motion. So just work through the wording, if you don't mind, with Deanne.
That we'll call it a strip of native vegetation
There has been an interchange of CEOs at the table as well at the moment. Colin had another engagement.
along Clark Road in the Central Highfields Master Plan be preserved or be retained for koala habitat and koala corridor. Yeah, no. Valid, Councillor. Maybe, I think Councillor Carroll's just helping me out that perhaps the native fauna that use that is perhaps broader than koalas. So in the Central Highfields Master Plan be retained as wildlife corridor is fine.
Now, Councillor Tim, you're comfortable with that wording at
Yeah,
this
I
stage?
just might because this is on the run, if I could just ask the acting CEO, who's also the General Manager of Environment and Community, if he sees any issues with that wording. If the intent's clear enough about the exact strip of land that I mean.
Thanks, Councillor. Through you, Chair. Good morning, councillors. I think the intent's clear. Councillor McMahon, it would be our practice to consult with community and undertake assessment of the values of the site to begin with. And if those values are there, as you say, around environmental values, et cetera, and I understand that they are, then that would become part of our master planning as a matter of course. So I don't see anything contradictory to our usual practice.
Thank you.
We've got a few questions here. Councillor Tim, or Councillor Bill, you're...
No, I was just happy to second it.
Oh no, well, we've got a mover in Tim, we've got a seconder in Councillor Bill. It's now on the table. Questions? Councillor Rebecca?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Through you. Thanks very much, Councillor McMahon. I'm supportive of this in essence. I just wonder the specificity of the strip of native vegetation. What would we know is and isn't included in that? And so I just wonder if we need to include that at all.
Thanks. Very valid question, which is why I asked the acting CEO if the intent was clear enough. Look, that block of land, it has about, look, I'm not going to put a meterage in it, 6 or 8 metres of native bushland, then it goes to grassland.
Yeah.
And so it's a fairly clear delineation of bushland to grassland if one were to look at it. And I think most people would be fairly clear on what the strip is. I didn't have a better word than strip.
Yeah. I just wonder if it's needed at all, because potentially if you'd consider that the native vegetation along Clark Road, that's just for you to consider. I'll support it either way.
I'm happy with that, the native vegetation along. I think that might... there might be native vegetation along the grassland bit too, and that might include the whole park area. So perhaps we need to say with strip.
Oh, okay. Carrie has a suggestion through to you, Carrie. Let's just see how we go.
Thank you. I'm mindful of what you're trying to achieve. Maybe we could look at a wording that talks about that council officers undertake some investigation to establish areas that could be retained for a future wildlife corridor, because it may be more than a strip and it may not just be limited to Clark Road, because there is some other vegetation sort of further to the south.
Yeah, sure. So my reading of it, it's fairly well set out, but Carrie, I'm very happy to take your advice on that.
It's always a challenge when we're doing this on the fly. I'll just make that comment.
I apologise. It was.
I'll make that comment. And we've gone down this path on a number of occasions, and we need not do that. And I understand we have. So we're just working this through, Carrie, with your wording, and Nick's just adding a bit from a professional opinion in that area. Carrie. I think it's pretty clear what we're trying to achieve. Just making sure that if someone picks this up in a year and a half's time, they'll also know.
Mayor, if I may, councillors, before Deanne makes the change and then you don't like it and she has to change it back, perhaps something along the lines of the council officers undertake investigations regarding the environmental values of the subject site with a view to retention as wildlife corridor.
Thanks for that. And Chair, I appreciate your point. This is on the fly and I don't want to be here all day, but what if in your book there is no environmental values in said plot of land? Benefit.
Councillor Tim, this is your motion, so you have the option to.
The council officers undertake investigations regarding.
The open space zone alone does protect the area.
Yep.
So what you're talking about is the
environmental value and benefit of the subject site with a view of retention, that'd be fine. If the second is in.
May I, Chair? Councillor Tim, in attempting to give some assurance, I had a conversation with the manager of Parks and Rec around this as late as last week, and and they're very aware of the environmental values and named a number of fauna species
Yeah,
that
thanks.
are important there.
I did want to solidify it in a motion, Nick, so thank you for that. I'm happy with values. Thank you.
Okay, so that is back to the original motion, or have we adjusted that? So Councillor Bill, are you happy with the adjusted one? Councillor Tim, you are, mover and seconder. So it's the same intent. I've got a couple of questions. Councillor Melissa, Councillor Kerry, Councillor Edwina. Councillor Kerry?
Wondering, it refers to the subject site, but there's nothing in anywhere in the motion telling us what the subject site is. I think that's what too.
Okay, as above? You happy with that? Because that's what it is. It talks about number one. It's the second part of that motion. As one above?
Okay, that's sufficient.
Comfortable? Councillor Edwina?
Thank you, Mayor. Just one question, retention of wildlife, if it is kept as a corridor, will the general community still be able to use it? Councillor Tim?
You can, yeah, sorry, similar to Charles and Motti Reserve, Rogers Reserve across the road, the community can still use it.
Okay.
But this is a very vital piece for linkage between Williams Park and Charles and Motti Rogers Reserve.
Okay, thank you.
Councillors, any other questions? Councillor Trevor?
I get the gist of this and it's great. Can somebody explain open space zone? What can we do or not do? Do lawnmowers go in and do that, or is it left natural, or is it whatever? Just so we don't get caught eventually where trees are removed because it's an open space zone.
Carrie will, or Josh? Josh will answer that one.
Thank you, through you, Chair. So the open space zone is an existing zone within the current planning scheme, and it's one that will likely occur in the new planning scheme as well. Typically, the open space zone is used for these purposes, which is retaining areas of environmental, like having some environmental value or trees. It won't preclude there being future, like a park or the park's planning from occurring on there. So it essentially says it's not for development. You know, that's what that zone is for. There might be some other, I guess, ancillary types of things that might occur that may or may not need a DA. It's hard to know until the park's planning has run its course, but typically it's saying this is intended for and retained for open space purposes, which includes vegetation or environmental values, as well as potential recreational purposes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rebecca, then Councillor Kerry.
Chair, I actually was going to propose that we adjourn the meeting while we do spend a bit of time wordsmithing this. My personal concern with where we've landed with this now is a degree of scepticism, because we've had lots of times when we've had, council officers directed to views to do something on environmental protections, and it hasn't happened. So I don't think we've landed somewhere that the mover and the seconder's initial intent is actually accurately represented here. So I know that Councillor Shine has a question, but if we'd consider adjourning the meeting just so that we've got a bit of time to have some morning tea, wordsmith it, and then potentially come back.
Well, Councillor Shine, happy to go to a question, but Councillor Tim and Councillor Bill, you were comfortable with the wording, I thought, when we landed on that. But Councillor Kerry, go to you.
Yeah, no, I support Councillor Rebecca's suggestion, but just the wording of that, it sort of it doesn't delineate what the part of the 6.3 hectares will be wildlife. The strip that Councillor Tim referred to originally is not described in that, is it?
Yeah, the first one, it was clear on Clark's Road. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but the 6.3 is the whole of that green area in the attachment.
That's right.
Whereas what councillor Tim wanted was a strip along Clark Road, might be a few metres wide, I don't know, but that's what he wants to be, the wildlife corridor, not the whole 6.3, which most of that 6.3 might be for normal park purposes for the benefit of the people of Highfield. I don't know, but I think what the general manager or the acting CEO said before was, my recollection of what he said initially was that let's look at it, let us look at it and come up with some suggestions as to what can be done. That's, I think, the preferable course.
Happy for Nick to speak to that, GM, see what he's follows that up with.
Thanks, Mayor. Councillor Shine, our normal practice would be to undertake all of the investigations that you're suggesting that we do, assess the environmental values and undertake community consultation and hear the community's views about how they would like to see a park developed, if I can use that word, and I use that word loosely because the development might be minimal, and we would prepare a draft concept plan for further consultation with the community and take that feedback before finalising that concept plan. So our assessment would consider all of those things. I was saying before in my conversation with the manager of Parks and Recreation as recently as late last week, we're very aware of the environmental values, including some others that you haven't talked about here, and have a strong desire to make sure that that is retained to celebrate those environmental values and preserve the habitat for the flora and fauna that reside there. So trying to give you my assurance, appreciate your desire to wrap this up and give some clear instruction. I think the park planning process is a strong one and has a track record of listening to communities' desires and delivering what they so seek out of their parkland.
Thanks, Nick. Councillor Tim, you had a question?
Thank you, Chair, and for your inputs. Colleagues, look, the reason to put this amendment was to cement it in stone the strategic intent of this chamber around said wildlife corridor. Now, I'm very aware, Nick, your team has a process that will go out and do the work as they always do and do it well, and that will take into this as well. But the main reason for bringing this forward, and sorry, thank you for your indulgence, and sorry we ran around the mulberry bush, but it was to make sure that area along Clark's Road, especially, was a wildlife corridor. Now, the motion as it stands, undertake investigations regarding the environmental values and benefit of the subject site as described in Part 1 with a view to retention as wildlife corridor along Clark's Road.
Adding the words along Clark's Road, which is back to where you were at the start, to be honest.
With the other words about officers' recommendation, and I would happy to move accordingly.
Is it Josh? Included but not limited to Clark's Road, would that be more helpful?
Yes.
Okay, so Tim, you're comfortable with that? James, you got a question?
As wildlife corridor, including but not limited to Clark's Road. I'm very happy with that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, well, you've got a mover. Councillor Bill, you're comfortable with that, where it sits now? Noting that Councillor Rebecca, you suggested we may need to adjourn. It sounds like we're closer to where the mover and the seconder were. Given the commentary as well of the GM and the history of consulting and going through master plans, which many of you have in different areas, I think we should have some confidence around that. This has just emphasised that particular spot, so appreciate that. We've got a mover and a seconder. Anyone like to speak against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Councillors, our next item will in fact be item number 13, which is matters for which notice has been given, of which there were a couple of late items, but they missed that cut-off, so they'll be in general business. So I propose that we will now adjourn for 10 minutes and return at 10:30. Thank you. Moved by councillor Rebecca, seconded by councillor Melissa. Those in favour, motion's carried. Thank you. Number 14, which is any other business council determines by resolution to be included, and of which there are two items that councillors would like to bring forward. That's at this very stage. The first is item 14.1, and as is the process, here we firstly need to obviously receive as a council that we will have a discussion on this. So Councillor James, I'll hand over to you first.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, colleagues. I circulated this yesterday, so essentially I'm asking to present on the table an item to advocate to the state government that Toowoomba be one of the 5 remaining locations to receive a youth foyer. So that's what I'm asking permission to bring to the table to discuss.
Thank you, Councillor James. That's the first motion. Moved by Councillor Rebecca, seconded by Councillor Carroll. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Okay, Councillor James.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor. So the motion, as I mentioned, is an opportunity for Council to advocate to the state government that Toowoomba be one of the 5 remaining locations to receive a youth foyer. Just quickly speaking on this, I know we as councillors have had information about it, but also we had the first of our youth advisory committees earlier in the month. So this was an item of discussion that we raised at the table, and I'd like to acknowledge Lisa Byers, who's in the room down the back as well. So thank you to you for what you do and obviously being involved in this. And we discussed the possibility around a youth foyer or Toowoomba being included by the state government as a location for a youth foyer. It was a good discussion, obviously, of those that sit around that particular committee. There was in principle agreement around taking a motion to council today, of which I'm doing, that we request that council advocates for one of these youth foyers. There was obviously a lot of intel in that room through our youth advisory committee around ideas and thoughts and possibilities that would be needed if we were to throw a hat into the ring with this. So in terms of how we advocate for this, with a clear message of, yes, we advocate for one of these youth foyers for the state government to consider Toowoomba, but at the same time, it does need to be in addition to the services that we currently have, and it cannot be at the expense of any of the current services we have as well. But I mean, I think all of those things can come through in our advocacy with people around the table of our youth advisory committee and through your office, Mayor. So I think the opportunity is there for council to advocate for one of these in our area. We know the need, we know the value in a youth foyer, and of course the other key part to it as well is that it would come at no cost to council as well, which is obviously a key thing in terms of financial implications. But I think it's an opportunity where we know that there are 3 that are already across the state, 5 more to go into different locations. So I think it's an opportunity where we really should advocate for the youth sector around here and those services that we have for Toowoomba to be considered as one of the locations for the 5 remaining.
Thanks, Councillor James. That is your motion, that council advocate to the state government that Toowoomba be one of the 5 remaining locations to receive a youth foyer. Moved by Councillor James, seconded by Councillor Carroll Taylor. Any need to go into debate? If not, the motion's there before us. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, James. We then move to item 14.2, which is not in the agenda but is a new one for today, as was the previous, and that's from Councillor Melissa Taylor.
Sorry, excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, my apologies for bringing a late motion, but I would like to put a motion to allow me to bring a motion without notice.
And the motion without notice is effectively before us.
Thank
So
you.
that's the motion that will be brought forward, if so granted. Happy to move by Councillor Rebecca. Councillor Carroll second. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Melissa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, apologies, and I reluctantly brought this motion with very late notice, as I was only given the entirety of the information late yesterday afternoon. But effectively, I've been given an opportunity and have been invited by the Danish Trade Commission to attend a study tour to Denmark from the 30th of June to the 4th of July. The Danish government or Trade Commission is actually covering all costs, and the only cost to council would be if the flights, the economy flights, were in excess of $3,000. But I believe that the economy flights to Copenhagen would be not much more than that. So the motion that I'd like to bring forward is that Council approves the participation of Councillor Melissa Taylor in the Danish Trade Commission's Bioenergy and Waste Study Tour of Denmark from the 30th of June to the 4th of July 2025, hosted by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Denmark. 2, cover additional economy class airfare costs in excess of Australian dollar 3,000. The travel arrangements and financial support offered by the Danish government for government sector officials includes the economy class airfare up to 3,000 Australian dollars, 5 nights accommodation, all meals included, and group local transport and tour energy. So the study tour actually aligns with my portfolio and provides a valuable opportunity to explore international best practices in circular economy models, bioenergy, and waste-to-energy solutions. Denmark is recognised globally as a leader in bioenergy and waste management, having successfully implemented circular economy strategies that prioritise resource efficiency, renewable energy integration, and carbon neutral waste solutions. The delegation will gain first-hand insights into innovative infrastructure, advanced technologies, and policy frameworks that have positioned Denmark at the forefront of this sector. The invitation has been formally extended by the Trade Commissioner, Mr. Ulrik Dahl, and the invitation has actually only been extended to 2 delegates from Queensland, and that being the Tisby Chair and myself, and the other confirmed delegates are from around the country, for example, the Minister for Environment and Minister for Innovation, Science and Digital Economy in Tasmania, the Office of Minister for Climate Action, Energy and Resources and State Electricity Commission, Victoria. So just a couple of examples, but it actually affords us the opportunity to network and build invaluable opportunity networks with our state and federal counterparts. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Melissa. There is the motion before us. You comfortable to move that? Would you like? Okay.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Melissa. Do I have a seconder? Yeah, I might just go for a seconder if I've got a seconder, and then it's on the table. Happy to second it? Okay. Councillor Carroll, second, and then comment.
And make a comment, Mr. Mayor. My son lives in Italy, and it's a terribly long flight. I would suggest that we look at covering the appropriate class airfare, because premium economy might be just that little bit extra, but much more comfortable. We've got a risk of DVTs and things like that on a long air flight. It's about a 24-hour flight or more over there. So it's just my thought, and actually, you know, it's a huge risk to fly economy. I'm certain that they would probably find the most appropriate class airfare. I know it's our community's money. I do support these trips very much. We need to bring these learnings back and see what other people are doing, and being on the ground is most important. But I do think that to expect anyone to sit there that long over 24 hours in an aeroplane in economy class is a little bit difficult, and I bring that to your attention.
So, Councillor Carroll, we have a mover and you're the seconder of the motion that's before us. Are you suggesting an amendment to the motion?
I'm happy to amend it to, if the mover is happy with that, to say the appropriate class airfare cost in excess of $3,000.
Okay, so Councillor Melissa, you have a thought on that?
I do, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank Councillor Carroll for her suggestion and her thoughts, but I am very happy for the economy class airfare, but I personally was going to look at myself paying for the extra for a premium economy. So I appreciate for council to cover just the economy, but I personally would look at covering the extra myself. So thank you. But I appreciate the thought. Thank you.
Okay,
So I'm
we
happy
have,
to leave the motion as is.
so we've got a mover and a seconder, the original motion. Any need for debate? Question, Councillor Bill?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Councillor Melissa, as I understand it's Tisby has been invited as one of the members of Queensland. Has there been any dialogue with LGAQ around their objectives and that? This is not a new subject, and Denmark is not a new frontier. I recall an LGIS tour on which I participated a number of years ago, and Denmark was one of the central focuses. So I was just interested to see what background, if you know of any, with your conversations obviously with the Chair of Tisby, have they conferred with where the state government and LGAQ's focus is?
Thank you, Councillor Bill. I'm not aware of any conversations or any background. As I said, the invitation only came late yesterday afternoon, so I'm not aware of that. But I know that there are conversations scheduled before I go with the likes of the university out here who are very active in that area, and different meetings to increase my awareness and Tisby's awareness, increase our information ready for the trip itself. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks. I feel it would be of great benefit to find out if council, I get the economic potential and benefit from this, but at least for us to try and coordinate have some dialogue with LGAQ. I mean, we've got a representative sitting right beside you on both national and state level, and this is, I know, on the agenda and has been for a long time. I just would like to think that if we're really, value for money, we're doing some homework with those other authorities that play in that space.
Thank you, Councillor Bill. But for the public's awareness, I am on two state waste committees. I'm on the ComSec Circular Economy Committee, and I'm also on the LGAQ Waste Committee as well. So I am very much involved from a state level of LGAQ and ComSec.
Thanks.
We have a mover and a seconder. No need for debate. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Right. We then move to item number 15, which is the closing of the meeting, and that's for the purposes in accordance with section 254J3 of Local Government Act Regulation 2012 to consider the following agenda item, which was 16.1, Confidential Interim Chief Executive Officer's Monthly Report. Now, in doing so, we do have obviously a couple of declarations that will be dealt with during that period of time. They've already been declared, so when we get to those particular items, both Councillor Rebecca and Councillor Gary will be away from the room, and therefore when we do resume the meeting, we'll do those, we'll separate those items, so you'll be out of the room for that vote, just to let you know. Okay, so that's the situation. The motion there is that the meeting be closed to the public in accordance with section 254J3 of Local Government Regulation 2012 to consider the Confidential Interim Chief Executive Officer's Monthly Report. Moved by Councillor Rebecca, seconded by Councillor Edwina. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll close the meeting. So, to the public, thank you for attending. We're back on, Dan. Thank you very much. So, councillors, Councillor Rebecca and Councillor Gary, if you'd like to leave the room for the vote of this first one, which is in relation to the update of the Toowoomba City Aerodrome. Okay, the motion before us is that Council note the Interim Chief Executive Officer's advice in relation to the Toowoomba City Aerodrome. Moved by Councillor Edwina. Seconded by Councillor Carol Taylor. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. The second motion, councillors, refers to the balance of the Chief Executive Officer's advice. So the motion is the Council note the remainder of the Interim Chief Executive Officer's advice. Moved by Councillor Carroll, seconded by Councillor Trevor. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. We move to item number 17, councillors, which is the group reports. And the group reports start with item 17.1, which is the Planning and Development report. And welcome Carrie back to the speaking position. This is the group report for this month, noting the previous month's activities. Thank you, Carrie, and welcome again.
Thank you. Good morning again, councillors. I'm taking the group report as being read, and I invite you to ask any questions that you might have about the contents.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Councillors, any questions in regard to the Planning and Development group report? If not, the motion is there before us that the Planning and Development group report be received. If someone moved by Councillor Tim, seconded by Councillor Gary. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, Carrie. We then move to item 17.2, councillors, which is the Water and Waste Services. And welcome, Jake. First appearance for today, Jake Bazier. Welcome to you, GM.
Thank you, Mr.
Jake.
Mayor. Good morning, councillors. I'm happy to take the group report as read and answer any questions you may have.
Thanks very much, Jake. Councillors, in regard to the Water and Waste Services group report, any questions? Councillor Trevor.
Just in relation to the water main replacement works in Ramsay Street there, is that where the original water main was? Because it's right beside the footpath, which I think there's been chitter-chatter from about how we do our water mains and all those other sewers and all that type of stuff. Just a comment.
Thank you, councillor. Essentially, it's on a similar alignment. When we do water main replacements, and one of the things we are considering and working towards, that you may have referred to, is how all of our services fit within road reserve. It's important for us to consider future work, so it's always difficult to replace a water main on the current alignment because we essentially have residents that use that service through that period of time. So what we tend to do is lay the main close to or with a fixed offset of the original main that facilitates us to install the main, and then we go through and install the services. But we are looking as part of the works with PSP2 and the development community to try and optimise and ensure that space is not just left for current infrastructure but future infrastructure as well when we need to do replacements and those things of the like.
Follow up?
Yep, just to follow up. Valeview, when is that being connected, or as it has been, or very close?
The residents of Valeview are connected and have been online for some time now, I believe about 3 weeks or 2 weeks roughly, that they've been receiving water from the Toowoomba bulk supply scheme. We're working closely with a new system, as always, working to ensure that it meets the stringent requirements of the drinking water regulation, and pleased to say that we haven't had any major incidents at this stage or any major concerns from the community.
Happy with that. Any other questions, councillors, in regard to water and waste? If not, the motion is before us that the Water and Waste Services Group report be received. Moved by Councillor Rebecca, seconded by Councillor Bill. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Thanks very much, Jake. We then move to item 17.3, councillors, which is the Infrastructure Services Group report. And welcome again for the first time. GM Mike, welcome to you. I hand directly over to you, Mike, but thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, good morning, councillors, and good to catch up. The Infrastructure Services Group report for April has been tabled as part of the reports. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Mike. Any questions? Councillor Trevor?
Just relating to the Glencoe-Yalanga Road, when you go out into country areas, do you have a chat with the neighbours? Because I believe there's been a few issues out there, like soil that's lifted out of roads and then carted for miles or kilometres away when, if a neighbour was approached, they may want the soil on their property, as in part one of the question. And when engineers are doing up roads, do they actually physically go out and site the work or the proposed work that is going to happen?
Yes, most definitely, and there's always discussions with adjoining landowners as part of the consultational engagement of what we're doing in an area. In respect to soil on roads, council doesn't actually own the soil on roads. It's actually owned by the Crown. Okay, so that goes with timber in road reserves as well. Okay, it's not up to us to give it away. What we do from time to time, we will contact the appropriate state department, and particularly with flood events, and where we get a lot of farm soil washed onto our road. And some of these events, we're talking 100,000 cubic metres of material. And the adjacent property owners are keen to get that topsoil back. We then get a formal agreement with the state that we can do that. We then have to do up formal agreements with the property owners, because once the material goes back onto the property, it's likely to have weed seed in it and all the other stuff that goes with it. We contacted the owner involved in this case about what we were doing with the soil. We use that soil to council's benefit. We do a lot of rehabilitation of our borrow pits, quarries, waste facilities and stuff like that. So any material that's removed from these sites are used in an environmentally sustainable manner, and it doesn't go to waste. So we utilise that opportunity to use that material. As I said, when it comes to flood events, actual flood events where material has been washed off and we've got to remove material from the road, we will occasionally work with adjacent property owners if they sign off all the appropriate agreements. In respect to accesses and other elements, if there's a want or a change of access, unless it's part of our design where we are actually instigating that change, we'll do it, any change like that, we'll do at our cost if it's instigated as part of that design. But where it's a request of theirs, they've got to be prepared to pay the cost of any relocations, and that should be coming as early in the process as possible rather than halfway through a job.
Yeah. That's it for you, Councillor Trevor, for the time being. Councillor Rebecca?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Through you. Thanks, GM Mike. One, I've provided on notice, and I have a second, if I may, also, Chair. Just actually in relation to the lower order roads, in a conversation that we just had outside, James Road at Gumbunji, which is done now, construction's complete on that one. But we used the $2 million, part of the $2 million that council sets aside each budget for that, for the lower order roads, but we also tapped into the LRCIP funding on that one. And so I wanted to have an understanding, Mike, of if that funding is available for all of our local lower order roads or not, and the amounts, I suppose, that we actually are able to to use for those lower order roads. And if you have to take it on notice, I'd understand, because I'm asking for budget details off the top of your head.
I will take it on note to get you some more detail, but the funding, the use of the LRI IP or the CP funding, that program, council, we're basically just using that funding to fund council's work in different regional, where we can. So that grant can be spread across a lot of things, so as I understand it. So I'll come back with a bit of detail around it, but it's, I think, I'm not sure if that program's continuing. So yeah, where there's, we use it to fund the council portion of the dollars that go through it, and that's why it's linked into it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, just some information on that would be great. So we understand, I suppose, how much of our money and how much of other monies are going into those lower order roads.
Yeah. The majority of the, I'll leave it at that. I'll come back.
I would imagine
Just
it's
make a comment on that. Irrespective of where the money comes from, that's the money. So how it's funded, you said whether it's our money or someone else's money, it's the money. So if it's $2 million we allocate in the budget, that's $2 million we find, irrespective of where it comes from.
That's right. That's exactly right. The second question that I did provide on a notice to the General Manager was in regards to gravel. We've got the 70 of the 77 local government areas in Queensland have been disaster declared since January 1st. There's enormous roadworks that are happening across the state and an enormous shortage of gravel across the state. So the question was, how are we faring, and where are we? Are we also experiencing shortages, and where are we getting our gravel from? If not, what's the situation, please?
Yeah, we're probably in a better situation than possibly most. When it comes to the Seal Road network, a lot of our gravel is supplied through our commercial providers, like your Borals and your Wholesums and Toowoomba quarries. So that's for the majority of our sealed road network. When it comes to our gravel road network, we've got, through the amalgamation of the councils that occurred, probably still in the order of close to 100 sort of borrow pits and different other gravel sources, proper gravel pits. Through the 2011 flood program, we upgraded about 25 to 30 odd pits to 100,000 tonne per annum pits. We got all the licensing and everything sorted for those back then. Through this program, and we delivered about nearly 1.5 million tonnes during that program. This current program is close to 900,000 tonnes, which we're basically at the end of now. And again, we've upgraded a lot of our gravel pits, minor expansions and improvements in some, and we've been able to, we've got a principal resource officer who works on this full time and keeping us there. We haven't to date had the same issues in regards to some of the Indigenous matters that have arisen in some of the western regions, since a lot of ours are on private property, and we own a few, but a lot of those are on freehold title land owned by various farmers and the like. And then we've also got a few agreements with the state that are long-term agreements in respect to the state forest pits that we've got open. So we've been quite fortunate that way. I think from a long-term resource for council, it's an area I'd flagged to council to be conscious of, that it's we use about 200,000 tonnes a year in any case for our gravel resheeting and other works, but we need to sort of keep investing in our resources and making sure that we're looking at the long term. When I talk long term, I'm talking the next 50, 100 years, making sure that these resources that we have that long-term life thinking about them, because, well, I think we'll always have gravel roads. and we'll always need to be doing some level of maintenance for our community for a long time to come.
Beauty of these meetings is that they're recorded, Mike, so when you say we'll always have gravel roads, I wonder in 250 years' time, they go back and record this meeting and the roads that don't exist or something. It's amazing, isn't it, what we all say, and you wonder what will be around. Any other questions for GM Mike? Councillor Tim.
Thanks, Chair. My question was on notice. I thought this was going to be later in the day where I would not be in attendance, so I wasn't prepared to ask it, but we're making record time, so I'm very proud to ask it. The issue I have is around the Mount Tyson John Darian Road.
Yep.
That was resurfaced by council with state government funds at a cost of 1.4 million, as it says on the sign on the road. That was completed in March 2025, and in April 2025 I went out to see that the road was deteriorating rapidly 1 month after it's completed. So I did have an answer to my question which gave me reasons why, but it still to me isn't passing the pub test of that much money to get a month out of a road. So could you please explain to me what's happened there and what we can do better to make sure we're more accountable to our dollars?
Thank you, Councillor. I sent through to councillors on Friday afternoon a response to this query, and I'll just sort of speak to that if I can. The works was a 4.7 kilometre section of rehabilitation, and in early March, as they were getting close to the end of the program, we actually had Cyclone Alfred coming. So as a risk mitigation, they took the risk of sealing it a bit earlier than what was proposed, because they were forecasting up to 600 millimetres of rain, and 600 millimetres of rain would cause substantial damage to any pavement that was open to the weather. So it was of taking that decision at that time. The team took that decision. What we did at the time, and still there at the moment, is the initial seal is what we call a primer seal, which is what we do for majority of our road network when we're constructing it. There's a final seal still to be done, so the project's not 100% completed yet. That final seal will probably be done around September, October. The benefit of doing a primer seal and letting it go through a period around about 6 months, 3 to 6 months, is that you can pick up on any soft spots or defects that may come through. Obviously, in this case, there was a section of pavement, is what is believed to be that was still drying out. So when you construct your base pavement, after you've put it down, you need to typically give it a few days to for the moisture content, for the moisture to evaporate out of the pavement, so it becomes like as hard as concrete, basically, giving you that very hard surface that you then can seal upon. In this case, they had to go seal it with the primer seal a little bit early, and obviously that then that small section had problems. There's two sections actually. The second section on the road that's had a defect there. The total area of defects in that whole project is less than 1% of defects, which is quite within, I'll say, reasonable standards of what to expect. Obviously, you hope when you build something new that you have zero defects, but occasionally, and in this case with the risk issues that they had to deal with at the time, they took the option of sealing it a touch earlier than what they would have normally had the weather been better. So that probably covers off on that. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks very much for your answer. And to you and your staff, I look forward to seeing that final coat. That's not the right word, but in September. I think the issue lies when you put a sign up saying completed March 2025, and me and the rest of the community think what's there now is the finished product. And there's still another layer to go. So thank you for your response.
Thanks. Thank you, Tim. Thanks, Mike. Any other questions for ISG? Councillor Trevor?
It may be a question that you might take on notice, but you might be able to answer it. I'm not quite sure. Bruce Street in Millmerran. There's a gap of about 100 metres of, there's bitumen one end, bitumen the other, 100 metres of gravel, and Councillor Edwina and myself were out the other day, and there's about 10 metres of bitumen that have been put down right in the middle. Very confusing. Maybe if you've got an answer now, it'd be great, but if you can take it on notice, you can come back to us.
Yeah, I will take on notice. I know the section road that you're talking about. My understanding, and I'll confirm this, is that it's through the development that's happened out there that gap has evolved. So it was never ever sort of dealt with, I suppose, of past development. So I'll come back and just see where the latest is on that little section.
Very good, thank you. Any further questions or comments? If not, the recommendation before us is that the Infrastructure Services Group report be received. Moved by Councillor Carroll. Seconded by Councillor Gary. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, Mike. Thanks very much.
Thank you, councillors.
We move then to item 17.4, councillors, which is the Environment Community Services Group, and invite GM Nick to have some opening remarks. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning again, councillors. Councillors, I'll take the report as read. However, I would note lots of activity around Anzac Day services throughout the month and a number of community events also.
Thanks very much, GM. Any questions, councillors, in regard to Environment Community? Councillor Carroll?
No, Mr Mayor, but just on that, I'd like to thank all the staff and CLOs for all the work that they put on Anzac Day. And I mean, I know in the areas that I attended, which was Gowrie and back out to Greenmount and whatever, a lot of work, everything went to clockwork, everything was just great, and I'd really like to, they burn the candle over that time, and we all want it to go so well, and it does. So, you know, we can't be everywhere, and it'd be lovely to be in town where there are larger gatherings, but the smaller gatherings, like Greenmount had a huge crowd, Gowrie had a huge crowd, so it's a wonderful way for us to commemorate Anzac Day and, you know, with the children involved, but the CLOs at that time put in a tremendous amount of work. So I'd like to pay thanks to them on that. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. I'll pass that on. Thanks.
Good on you. Thanks very much. Councillor Trevor?
Councillor Edwina and myself were out at Millmerran the other day. Can you pass on to the crew that look after the Millmerran Cemetery? The locals out there think they're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you, Councillor Trevor. I certainly will.
Very good. Thank you. Councillors, any other questions or comments for Environment Community? If not, the motion is before us that the Environment Community Services Group report be received. Moved by Councillor James, seconded by Councillor Trevor. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. We then move to Corporate Services and welcome back GM Anne-Marie. Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Hello again, councillors. So happy to take the report as read and hopefully answer any questions you may have.
Good, thank you. Thank you very much, Anne-Marie. Councillors, any questions in regard to corporate services? So the group report, item 17.5. No questions? If not, councillors, the recommendation is before us that the corporate services group report be received. Moved by Councillor James, seconded by Councillor Melissa. Those in favour? Motion's carried. Thanks very much, Anne-Marie. Councillors, that does conclude the ordinary meeting for the month of May. Thank you very much for all your attendance and those watching online and in the room. Do appreciate it in the week of National Volunteer Week, Connecting Communities. Thank you to all of those who do so much in our community as a volunteer to ensure the many things that we speak about, make decisions on, go ahead. So a big shout out to all of the volunteers in Volunteer Week. Thank Thank you very much. That concludes the meeting.